So I don't know about you guys, but for me, the biggest and happiest news of the week was that they announced a new Far Cry game.
Yeah,
I love that series. I'm also a big fan of them just going to the Stone Age because that eliminates a lot of things that I think are getting less and less interesting in Far Cry games, which is like, oh, you got some cool new scopes on your guns. You got a cool upgrade to your magazine. I don't care anymore.
Yeah, it's sort of the first. So yeah, Far Cry. Ubisoft announced Far Cry Primal. This is not like a Blood Dragon-y DLC expansion. This is a full $60.
Can I call it Far Primal?
Yes,
Ooh,
please.
I don't know why I didn't think of that.
That gives me Far Cry Primal Rage. That was an old arcade game where a dino beat a monkey, man.
It's true.
Yeah, this is a full game. It's not 100% sure why it's not called Far Cry 5.
Probably because it's not like modern
no guns?
bang guns.
There's no
Yeah,
guns,
right. Like
yeah.
you're not capturing outposts with jeeps and C4.
Yeah,
And
but I mean, I'm imagining you're still going to be capturing outposts. But one
You
thing
are.
it does is it
They're just
makes
mud huts now.
crafting make sense.
Yeah.
But crafting never really made sense in the other games. So I'm like, who are these dudes and why do they know how to do this?
I got a rhino gut and I'm gonna smash it into an elephant and wrap it in
Yeah.
some flowers and now I've got a wallet.
Yeah, Ajay would not have known how to do that. Or what was his name in 3? Brody?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was a super Brody.
Brody.
Brody. But this dude, like the character you play, 10,000 BC, like you are a hunter-gatherer sort of person, and that's going to make sense. And when you kill something, you are going to use every part of it because that's how life back then was, Mitch. It was a simpler time.
You didn't just throw away half your Big Mac
So,
like I do.
and what I was saying, I wasn't fully prepared. I didn't actually watch this trailer.
Okay.
Really? Okay,
so-
that's interesting.
So what were we
you
gonna
just
do?
heard about it.
Well, yeah, I mean, you guys
Okay.
can recount it to me, and in doing so, inform any audience members who.
Exterior,
Yes.
field, midday. So basically, the trailer it never shows the player character because it's most of the time first person except for like panoramic environment
But
shots.
it's first person, like, it's fake first person.
Yeah, it's
Like,
like
it's not going to be how the game looks in first person.
right. It's like guided cinematic kind of first person.
Yeah.
And you're with a small tribe. It's you and 3 other people, which TBD if it's like co-op or if you just have a small clan that you're rolling with the whole time. But it's a short video about them hunting mammoths.
Mm-hmm.
And at a certain point, it basically just turns into Monster Hunter, where they're
Yeah.
mounting a mammoth and all throwing different kinds of sharp objects at it, like a spear or a bow and arrow. And it's scary because it's like a very close range, like more intimate fight than you're expecting from a Far Cry game.
It reminded me of the what Sony showed at E3 with Horizon, sort of where it was that fight against the big like Robo Dino.
Yeah.
It's sort of that scale and that scope, and that like this is not a kill it and walk away thing. Like this is a sort of an event in the game.
So they're making use of the elephant tech that they had in Far Cry.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, and the saber-toothed tiger operates like guess what animal in previous Far Cry games.
Was it a hawk?
Yeah, he nailed it.
Yeah.
The most interesting thing to me is I played a lot of Rust, and this is very much Ubisoft entering that kind of survival, open world sort of realm, but only lightly, and I kind of wish it was a lot more. Basically, because if more games are like Rust, that's great for me.
Well, here's a question that I have: is why would they even call this a Far Cry game? Like Far Cry for me has always been a shooter. It's always been
Yeah.
It's been modern or near future if you count Blood Dragon setting, and it's always been a very specific kind of thing. And this might have like the crafting aspect of it, and it might share the engine, and I guess taking over outposts. But beyond that, it seems so thematically different from the rest of the Far Cry games.
I mean, the cynic in me says because the name Far Cry holds a lot of cachet.
Well,
I don't even think that's cynicism. That's just practical.
Yeah,
it's
and also
marketing.
I wouldn't be surprised if this game was originally Primal.
right?
Yeah, like
And then
it was
someone
a
like,
different
well,
project.
Sort of, this has some stuff in common with Far Cry. So
Yeah.
let's just
What if
put
we
that
just
bucket.
dump the elephant into the engine and then reskin it?
No, I'm sure
Make
it
it
was
bigger.
always. I'm sure it was always like a Blood Dragon-ish spin-off of Far Cry that they
Right.
were messing with.
And then it scaled up.
Yeah, probably. I mean, that would be my completely uneducated guess.
Sure.
That's how that one came to be.
I would imagine though, like imagine if you see this trailer, imagine that you have seen the trailer, and then imagine again that you had seen that trailer, but it didn't have Far Cry at the end. You would look at that and go, "Who are they kidding? This is just a Far Cry game with
and no.
a different aesthetic."
Yeah.
I don't know. Like I don't think there's like when you change the setting that dramatically. Like I don't really have a problem with changing the franchise that it's associated with. I mean, you look at Mass Effect versus Dragon Age. Like they were, at least they started out pretty similar, and then kind of branched out
Separately.
But it's BioWare tech, and Mass Effect versus Knights of the Old Republic. It's kind of the same structure with some different systems. I mean, Mass Effect was more shootery, obviously. But,
Yeah.
But it's the same style of thing. with a new coat of paint on it, and it's a different game.
Yeah, I mean, we've sort of been saying the same thing with Assassin's Creed, to where everyone really liked Black Flag, and it was like, let's just
make it a power game.
Strip away the assassin stuff that everyone's sort of tired of in terms of that overarching narrative, and just let it be a cool pirate game.
Get rid of the Animus stuff. Get rid of all the modern day stuff.
Yeah.
Get rid of all the stuff that nobody cares about.
Yeah,
and just
exactly.
make it a power game.
Yeah. The thing I found really interesting with the trailer was that they made up a language, and the characters are speaking to each other in that made-up language, and they didn't have subtitles. And so, like,
I want to play without subtitles.
Yeah, we have this, like, we are hoping that this game just doesn't have subtitles. And
How great would
the
that
story
be?
is told through, like, through performances, and through, like, animation, and through facial tech.
But then they wouldn't have a language because you're one of them, and you should be able to understand that language.
Which is why they'll probably have
unless
subtitles.
you play your character's conscience, like Jiminy Cricket in the hit film Pinocchio.
I bet that's how it
Jiminy
goes.
Cricket
I bet
can
that's how it
speak
goes. I'm really excited to run around a Far Cry world and bang on some trees and get some wood and make a hatchet and do the kind of stuff I love doing in like Rust and the Stomping Land, despite the fact that game was bad.
Yeah.
I think the obvious question, is why did they not come up with a way to put dinosaurs in this? Or maybe they did. Maybe they're going to
Because I think they wanted to ground it a little bit more. Like I think it was meant to be.
Far Cry never really.
No, of course,
considered
but
itself
at the point where you put dinosaurs and humans in it, like that never happened. So suddenly it's a little more.
Blood Dragon never happened.
Well, that's the point. It's like they're trying to accomplish different things. Blood Dragon was trying to be stupid. This is trying to be a cool 10,000 BC Far Cry game.
Yeah.
I don't know. Far Cry is always trying to be a little stupid.
A little bit, but Blood Dragon was over the top. Like they are not comparable in any way. I think, aside from Far Cry.
Right. No, I just seems like I want to fight some dinosaurs.
I
totally
want to
agree.
fight some dinos too. You're preaching to the choir.
Mammoths and saber-tooth tigers are all well and good, but they're just fuzzy and pointier versions of the same things that were in the last Far Cry games. Give me something I haven't quite seen before. Something that maybe rides on the Jurassic Park coattails and
So the Far Cry
I'm sort of
games have-
surprised that. I mean, granted, this game I'm sure has been in development for years, but after the massive success of the wildly mediocre Jurassic World, that no one was just like, oh my god, dinos! Put the dinos in there. Kids love dinos.
DICE has been regretting it for 5 years, no
Yeah.
doubt. I don't know. The Far Cry games have always had that like hint of something that's just off, right? Like Far Cry 4 had the Yeti stuff. Like before the DLC was even there, like it was clearly a Yeti. And it was weird and it was subtle, but it was interesting. It was like, what is going on here?
3 had all the drug trips and everything.
Yeah, and there was like spiritual stuff in Far Cry 4 and also more drug trips, and you literally went to a different world and played a different game in Shangri-La. So I would imagine that
it's
they
entirely possible there will be a dinosaur popping
exactly right.
Yeah.
Like at
maybe
a
they
certain
just
point, the
didn't
plot
wanna-
twist might be just there are dinosaurs, and
Also,
you find them and they're terrifying.
That is a different, that is another preview beat you can hit with this game, which is not going to have a long preview tail because they
It's out in
announced
4
it,
months.
and it's in theory coming out in February.
The same day as
Deus Ex and Mirror's Edge.
Yep.
That is video game day.
Elias Tufexis is in 66% of those games on that day.
Yeah, we were talking about this before. I expect one of them to move, or I expect this game to get delayed, because Ubisoft has a tendency to delay games. See The Division and Watch Dogs, and
I don't think
Rainbow
Far
Six.
Cry needs to be afraid of either of those games.
I think a Far Cry spin-off does.
I wonder if they had called it Far Cry 5 if they would have just made it next year's big game and, I don't know, given it more dev time, more promotional time. But yeah, like to that point, right? Like it's a spinoff. Does it have the weight to go toe-to-toe with Deus Ex? And Mirror's Edge, all open world games.
I mean, a funny thing is very few games get to the number 5.
Mega Man. Final Fantasy.
Mega Man and Final Fantasy.
Metal Gear Solid.
Tomb Raider. Everyone pulls out before that, though.
That's true.
Assassin's Creed pulled out before 5. Mass Effect is pulling out before 4.
Oh, you
I'm just going to keep saying pulling out. No, I mean literally using the number 5
Metal
in
Gear.
your title. Metal Gear. Well, Metal Gear's insane. But I don't like. I imagine Ubisoft. The Japanese have done it. Westerners don't.
Skyrim.
I imagine a Japanese game.
To your point.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine that after Black Flag, the
Fighter.
reason.
I'm sorry. Carry on.
Rainbow Six. I imagine Ubisoft did some sort of research where they were like, "Hey, we're not going to call the Unity 5 because it was in theory it was like the 8th game because they don't have number things. I don't know.
What if it was like Vinity and it was like on like Like on city halls, the U's always look like V's.
Can I leave yet?
Fallout 4 is the 8th Fallout game.
Yeah. We're going to put that on Dan's epitaph. Your last Dan Stapleton.
Rewinding. Literally, what was your point? What were you trying to say?
They pull out.
Oh yeah, right. That 5 might be a bad number.
I don't know. Maybe
5 is an unsexy marketing number.
Yeah.
Could be. But then what do they do when they make Far Cry 5? When they make the modern shooter again in 2 years?
Far Cry.
Ubisoft has already gone in the direction of dropping numbers entirely.
That's
did
true.
It with
Yeah.
Assassin's Creed.
Yeah.
They did it with something else. What else did they do it with?
Rainbow Six doesn't have numbers
yeah,
anymore.
Rainbow Six
Yeah,
doesn't have
no.
numbers. So yeah,
I don't know if it ever really did.
Beyond Good and Evil 2 is never coming out.
They could very well go in that direction.
Yeah.
But
No, that makes sense.
I'm also just really big. If this does come out in February, I'm a big fan of what, like Fallout, of announcing a game, and before I can get tired of it, I am playing it.
Yep.
So more than that, I'm excited to see a AAA developer take one of its biggest franchises and say, let's do something super different with this.
Yeah.
And I hope it's a trend that we see carried forward more, right? Like the Black Flag example, like just do a pirate game, just do a Stone Age game, just do whatever sci-fi thing you want to do, and you can call it Far Cry or Assassin's Creed or whatever you want to do, make it a new IP. I don't care, but like keep doing different stuff. I am super down with that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, of course, we're still going to be saddled with Uplay with this game, but
Oh, God.
I guess the good news though is that they've tweaked Uplay so that when you launch out of Steam now, it doesn't launch to Uplay. It launches straight into the game.
Perfect.
It cuts out the middleman.
Uplay does launch.
Yeah.
But it's running in the background, so you don't have to push play again.
That's nice.
Which is great especially if you're in big picture mode.
And I can still spend my Uplay points and my Uplay gun and my Uplay screensaver.
Yeah.
You
When was the last time you guys downloaded a screensaver?
That's a good question.
Jeez.
Right?
In the 90s?
Yeah. When Jennifer Love Hewitt was still alive.
When she made that movie with Sigourney Weaver about conning married men.
Heartbreakers.
Heartbreakers.
Before Jennifer
My
Love
man.
Hewitt's untimely death.
Yeah, I don't know why I said when she was still alive.
I just missed that part of the conversation.
She
I
might be dead.
guess.
This is IGN's #1 JLH podcast.
With Podcast Unlocked trailing in a close second. Is that all the stuff we have to say about Far Cry Primal?
Yeah, I'm excited. I want to
Yeah,
play
me too.
When are we going to play this video game?
February 26th.
No, when are we?
Oh, we? What, like when do we get to?
Are they going to show stuff at Paris Games Week that's coming up soon?
PlayStation Experience, maybe? In December.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Paris Games Week makes most sense. Ubisoft or French, that's my logic.
Oui.